So I said, how has a church service ever been disrupted as a result of my protest outside the church? And he, like Jeremy Searle earlier during my cross-examination of him, because I pretty much asked the same question to Jeremy Searle, said, oh, well, I feel terribly uncomfortable inside knowing you're out there protesting, blah, 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 blah. So basically he's talking about his own internal personal discomfort knowing that I'm out there protesting. Well, excuse me, that's your internal discomfort. That's not me disrupting the service, So I more or less made that point. And that was it. That was like game. Oh, no, it wasn't. In fact, I think the judge rapped me on my knuckles a little bit because I think I made a statement along those lines, making it clear to Val Bourdon that, well, no, that's not disrupting the service. That's your internal discomfort. You're not, when you're cross-examining someone, you're not supposed to make statements. You're only supposed to ask questions. So I think the judge rapped me on the knuckles a little bit and just reminded me, you can only ask questions. So I went on, I asked the following question. Has a church service at the Unitarian Church of Montreal ever stopped and started again as a result of my protest outside the church? And the answer was no. Game over. There was like nothing there. In fact, soon after that, the Crown prosecutor himself spoke up, and because he knew I was representing myself, he knew that there were certain legal procedures that I might not be aware of, and he was right about that. I was not aware of the legal procedure that he suggested, which is called a motion of non-suit. He told the judge, I have to prove these points of law beyond reasonable doubt. There were 4 or 5. And he made it clear that he couldn't prove a single one of them. And so he basically asked me, or he asked the judge to tell me that I could make a motion of non-suit, which would essentially be a motion saying, well, the prosecution failed to prove its case. This is it. It's over. It's like, quit me. But I actually wanted to present a defense. Even though I didn't have to, I wanted to sort of show what was really going on. So I actually told the judge, it's no thanks, I don't really want to make a motion of non-suit. I'd like to present a defense. I have a right to a full and complete defense according to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and I actually want to present a defense. I know I don't have to, but I want to. And the judge granted me that. He set a date for another court date so I could present a defense down the road a bit, some months later. Unbeknownst to me, a few days after, the Crown prosecutor went back to the judge and made a motion for acquittal, and I was acquitted. So I was never able to present a defense, and I didn't even find out that happened until about a month or a few weeks before the trial date that I was expecting, I believe in December of 2003. I basically just went to verify some things, and I was told, oh, well, you've been acquitted. You were acquitted, a few days after the last court date, which I was totally unaware of. I just want to check to make sure this thing's running. Yes, 21 minutes. So we got a few more minutes left. So that's just one example of the bullshit criminal charges that Montreal Unitarians have brought against me in an effort to suppress my protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. And so it's just one example of how Quebec Crown prosecutors have undermined charter rights and freedoms. And in fact, in that particular instance, my rights weren't undermined all that much. Because there were no court conditions placed on me as a result of the arrest. I was told by the police officer not to come back to protest, and when he said that, that's the one who arrested me, because I was arrested while I was outside the church, and one of the last things he said to me is, don't come back. And I said, well, do you mean don't come back today, or do you mean don't come back at all? And he basically said, I mean don't come back at all. But that was just him. It was just his advice, shall we say. So I looked into what my rights were and so on, spoke with a few lawyers, and was told that no, you can go back, it's not a problem, and so I did. So basically, I think it was a few Sundays where I didn't protest because I was busy determining what my rights were. But there were no court conditions preventing me from protesting. But unfortunately, down the road a bit, Unitarians were able to impose court conditions on me by basically lying to the police, claiming to be very afraid for their personal safety, afraid that I'm going to kill them, which is ridiculous because I've never engaged in any kind of violence during the whole 20 plus years I've been protesting. In fact, I've been assaulted a few times by Montreal Unitarians. Nothing too serious, but I've been basically knocked to the ground by Margot Ellis with a body check worthy of an NHL hockey player. Being grabbed and shoved and pushed around and had a fist leveled at my face by a guy by the name of Binet. I'm trying to remember his first name. I think it's Mark, but Pierre Binet. That was actually very early on in my protest in the 1998 or yeah, it would have been 1998, way back when. And in 2016, I was assaulted by David Horan. And so on. There's a few other assaults, but nothing that I said too serious. But I could have been seriously injured in the assault on me by Margot Ellis because she did knock me completely off my feet. I landed on my back in the snow. Behind me there was a tree. If I had been closer to the tree and had fallen against the tree, I might have snapped my neck. You know, I might have broken my neck or something. So I could have been seriously injured, or I could have had a concussion or something if I'd been that much closer to the tree, and when she knocked me off my feet, my head and neck and spine hit the tree quite forcefully. And then in terms of David Horan, during that assault, he was very aggressive with me, advancing on me. I walked backwards, filming what was happening, and not seeing exactly what I was doing, I walked backwards into the street. And so I could have been hit by a car as a result of backing away from David Horan. Now I guess that's partially my fault because I should have perhaps been looking out for cars, but I basically had to keep my eyes on David Horan because he was very aggressively advancing on me, and he did hit me a few times or smash the camera anyway. So yeah, if I'd been hit by a car as a result of David Horan's aggressive advancing on me and basically threatening to hit me and so on, I could have been seriously injured then. I think we're probably getting close to the end of this segment. We'll just want to see where we're at. Yeah, I got a few minutes left. So anyway, yeah, we'll wrap it up on the Crown Prosecutor's thing. In 2007, maybe late 2006, Reverend Diane Rollert of the Unitarian Church of Montreal sought a restraining order against me. She claimed to fear for her personal safety. She rounded up a bunch of Montreal Unitarians to sign depositions to the police claiming to be afraid for their personal safety. Come to think of it, I'm not sure if a Crown Prosecutor was involved in that because it was seeking a peace order. So I don't think I wasn't actually prosecuted for a crime, but it did involve a Quebec court judge. It did involve the SPVM and an SPVM detective. But yeah, come to think of it, wasn't actually a Crown Prosecutor involved in that. Nonetheless, my rights were suppressed by a Quebec court judge for a period of 1 year because she granted a 1-year restraining order on the basis of Reverend Diane Rollert's claims to fear for her safety, even though she had no real valid grounds to fear for her safety. And then in December 2017, I was arrested while I was at a Montreal City Council meeting and accused of criminal harassment of Montreal Unitarian Sue Montgomery. And this has been the most successful attempt by Montreal Unitarians to suppress my protest outside the church because in the court conditions which were imposed as a result of Sue Montgomery's criminal harassment accusation, one of the conditions which she placed was a condition not to be at the Unitarian Church of Montreal. Now, I was able to have my lawyer successfully strike that down, so I was able after a few months to resume my protest for a few months, but then Sue Montgomery brought additional criminal harassment charges against me and breach of conditions charges against me, and much more severe court conditions were placed on me. as a result of that, and so I was no longer able to protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. I was acquitted of the main charge of criminal harassment, but a activist judge, shall we say, or what one of Montreal's veteran criminal defense lawyers calls a hanging judge, I was found guilty of breach of conditions for doing nothing more than asking Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante a question about the bad behavior of Sue Montgomery. So I was found guilty of breach of conditions just for asking a question at a city council meeting about a legitimate issue. And as a result of that, I have probation conditions on me which prevent me from being at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, which is why I'm here. So we got a couple more people showing up here. I think I'm going to move the camera tripod so that there's room to park if someone wants to park. Bonjour. Yeah, we're pretty well done here anyway. So let's just... So we got a couple of people showing up. We'll just take the tripod off the street. So a couple of older people. And yes, they can see the picket signs. Doesn't hurt to show them the signs. Whoops, daisy, there goes the tripod. So two older women, three actually, but one with a walker. Anyhow, that's sort of typical actually for Unitarian Universalist churches these days. You know, lots of senior citizens, not so many younger people, and we'll just let them go into the church without making noise or anything. I mean, I have every right to shout some slogans and so on, but I think they saw the picket signs. You know, something's going on. If they want to know more, they can practice Unitarian Universalism's fourth principle, which calls for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Let's see here. Yeah, still got a few seconds left. So, okay, a young girl coming this way, so we'll just turn the camera away for now. Not that I'm